Shall we move on to our fifth place team?
We
I
shall.
reckon. Fifth place, we had Spartans. Predicted second, down 3 from their predictions. Over the course of the tournament, they were sitting in the top 3, so second, third, and then on the last day, they dropped 2 spots. There's a bit of a typo on their average score for Cascade 1. That's my bad. They didn't have an average score of 339,338. But on the team is Link, Madcans, The Leg, Potato, Peregrine, and Zeropa. Butza, talk to us.
Yeah,
Peregrine had the highest denies for with 1.67.
There you go, Peregrine, superstar. So as predicted, they killed it during the comp and had not the best finals day. They would have been hoping for more. I mean, they were in those games in the finals, but just didn't quite get over the line. That's great. And I kind of wrote notes for this before we started, and then Runt gave me the base results for the tournament, which completely throws my theories out the window. Might be a good time to bring them up, actually. But apparently all the 3 bases were relatively even for the comp, which surprises me quite a lot, given that red seemed to have been, clearly was the base everybody wanted early in the comp. And I kind of felt like it shifted to green on that final day. And Spartans may have been... they chose red, and we played them in a game where they were red and we were green, and we kind of figured green out during that game. In fact, we had changed a few things based upon what we'd seen, and we kind of felt like the meta had shifted towards green being the strongest base in that final day at that stage of the tournament. And they unfortunately lost a game to us by a small amount, and that kind of put them on the back foot, and it meant that and then they played a game against you guys as well, where I think they were red and you guys same thing happened, and you guys were green.
We were green, yeah.
And did you guys felt like the meta had kind of shifted, where the field points were kind of at green more so on those final few?
I don't know how much of it was that. It was just we just finally found something that was comfy for us. Like you said, we'd been playing a lot of just pretty standard game, 3-2, and that was the first one of the first games on green where we didn't play standard. We played a little bit more defensively. And yeah, I don't know, it was a slow game, and we ended up just being able to get one or 2 bases, and Spartans were struggling to get any. That was our observation from the game. Yeah. So yeah, pretty much the same thing, where they were red, we were green, and they were very close. I think Madcans ended up getting 2-shot time denied at blue base at the end. And if he'd gotten it, it would have been a win for them. So it was a very tight game.
Yeah, right. And then, of course, they had... So essentially, they got put into a position where they had the one golden game, and they had it from blue, which I thought was the weakest base, but I've been looking at the stats. That might not necessarily be the case. Just depends on who's playing it. But I guess one thing I did notice is that they didn't outbase any of their opponents on the final day. And although bases aren't everything, I think you should be probably outbasing your opponents at least 1 in 3 games. You can't entirely rely on field points. So I just maybe question how they were set up, or how they were utilising their players in those big games, and if they were going aggressive enough at the right times. Only they will know it, though. I have full faith in Cairns. He's probably one of the best strategists the game's ever seen. But something didn't click on that final day, and that they'd probably be in the best position to exactly point out what it was. Probably also want to point out that the golden game they did get into, probably a good time to bring this up. Aftershock did a big brain move and did a late game dump, which is the thing that, as a captain, keeps you up at night, like nervous, feverish, sweating, because playing against a late game dump in a big game like that is nightmare material, because the exact play to make against it is completely dependent on how you execute, essentially. Essentially what happened is Aftershock did a late game dump. and we were on it first. They dumped from red. We were on it straight away. We managed to get a few hits on it early, and we'd already, luckily enough, got due to some brilliance by Taipan, got a hit on Spartans base early. We got one hit on them, so we were kind of in the box seat, and then poor old Spartans rocked up to the empty base just a little bit too late. And of course, when you've only got 4 minutes or whatever the time was, I think it was 4 or 5 minutes, and both teams are trying to make sure they get their fair share of the hits on it. If you only have to lose a couple of standoffs and not get that base, and you lose the game essentially. And that's what happened. They were, essentially a base or two behind first place. They'll be really disappointed with that, I'm sure. But all in all, they played excellently throughout the tournament. They had 3 players who were finished 10th, 11th, 12th on the solo ladder, including the leg, who finished on what did leg finish with tag ratio wise 1.27. So he was dominating. Peregrine was last line, which is why he got 1.4, and Potato getting a 1.2 tag ratio too. So their defense was sound, was really solid. They were racking up points in defense. They probably lost it in offense. To be fair, they probably just didn't quite get the bases they needed to when they needed to get them. Anybody want to add anything to that?
This is a team I was fascinated by, so I went back and watched pretty much all of their games because I was like, what the hell happened to these guys? Because you look at the stats, you go, their tag ratios are all insane. When you have a team of tag ratios that are all very low and the team does well, you go, they must have had some brilliant strategy. I'm wondering if the inverse is true. Were they playing the arena wrong, or was it some other factors? I think, to speak to your point earlier, they never were in the base race because they never got the opening base of the game. And I think it's because, watching their style of play, they were very centered around piggybacks. Their team seemed to live and die by the piggyback. Lincoln Cairns would very much play way back from the doors, play back out of the action, and wait for those other teams to break in, and then walk in straight behind them and steal that base. And when that works, it's amazing. Piggybacks are great. They're like the best thing ever in laser tag when you hit them. But I don't think it's something you can rely on to the degree that these guys were relying on. Because they'd never get the first base. They'd let the other teams do the work and then try to sail in after. And the other risk of doing that is you can drop a lot of denials. And that's what we saw on the last day. They just kept on getting denied because they'd rock up to a base with 9 people or something, go, they've just got been denied, I'm going to take it now. And then they'd also get denied because there's 9 people there. Which may also speak to the lack of synergy in the team, maybe. I don't know if Link, for example, really trains much at all. So when Link and Cairns are your main 2 attackers, and they don't really play together, you're going to cop some denials, right? And then, so I don't know. To me, it looked like a strategy that over-reliance on piggybacking and overly defensive, probably, when they had the tools to go further. It was crazy to me that these guys went in finals with watching the capacity of the players.
Yeah, I think knowing what this team has done in the past, knowing Madcans as the, like a legendary in-game leader, and, one of the guys that nerds out over the game more than a lot of people, he's probably already watched all of his games back like 10 times each. They're going to come back, drilled even harder, fixed all their problems, come back nationals time, and, maybe Spartans getting a 5th place is actually the key at a pre-nats that they were disappointed by, is the key to them, the motivation they need to really, really push through. And, they've been so close to getting like 1st place a few times. Maybe this is the year it happens. And getting 5th place at pre-nats 3 was the catalyst for it. The catalyst.
We've been saying maybe it's the year. We've been saying Hobart suits them well and it might be their year, but have they been learning from their past pre-nuts as much as other teams, is what I wonder. Why are they playing the correct strategy, do you reckon, Butzer? Because they play a notably exceptionally different strategy to all the rest of Queensland. All of the rest of Queensland is very much 3-man attacks, 5-man Ds, 3-man quick hits back and forth. Spartans didn't do that at all, pretty much, from what I saw. Do you know why they're playing it so differently to other Queensland teams?
I just need to be really careful what I say here. I want to give as much value to the stream as possible, and also I'm competing at nationals, and I've got my team probably watching saying, "Don't say too much, Putzer."
Yeah.
So I'm just going to leave it with what I said. I don't know if they've fully got their offense functioning the way they would like it to be functioning. They've got 3 players in the top 12, and they didn't outbase their opponents in any of their finals games. So that, for me, when you've got that much firepower, is an issue. So no doubt they would have identified that already, and they'll already have how they're going to train it and how they're going to fix the problem already sorted. Because,
correct me if I'm wrong, but if your base is getting hit with link cans and potato, you're losing that game, right? Like, did we see that much? No. I don't know.
I don't remember seeing that.
I don't think so. I did see Lincoln last line once, though.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, I'd be curious to see if they do it, but part of me also hopes that they don't, because I'm scared of that and I don't want them to, and that would make me start losing to it if I suggest it. So don't do that, guys. But,
they got weapons all the way down the page, so they've got the ability to shift things very quickly.
Do you guys have many points of improvement for the team?
Not that I can say here. I'm only playing.
Yeah, it probably just goes back to that. Maybe you need some more competitions as a team, like we were saying earlier, to get good at finals. Look at the gun timer. That's the look at the gun timer. That's the one.
To be fair,
I saw 2 games where they lost because of that gun timer putting in a time denial. It was rough. I think these guys will be a powerhouse at Nats if like Link actually trains with the team and they all actually synergize well and all that stuff. I think, we definitely can't write these guys off, and I think they'll come back to Nats very strong because their players are insane. You look at the stats. So
and the reality is, between probably 5th and 3rd, there was fractions of a second between those teams. Like, there wasn't anything in there. It could have gone either way. Any one of those 3 teams could have been that extra team in the grand final. So they were right in it, right to the end.
Any last bits to add for the Spartans?
I've probably said way too much already.
Alrighty. Well, I like Spartans, but we know they'll be back at nationals with a vengeance. Moving on to our 4th place team, Aftershock. Woo, that's me. We were predicted 5th place, so we're up 1 from that. Over the course of the tournament, we started in 7th, climbed to 6th in Cascade 1, dropped to 7th again, and then we were tied with WA Cowboys, Moon Boys, with being the biggest climbers of the tournament. So we climbed 3 spots on the last day. Uncharacteristically, we had a pretty high average score. Usually we have a very low average score and we still managed to squeeze in, but we decided to change it up a little bit. On the team was Fuggin, Holmes, that's me, Chuch, Exile, and Beefy. Notable stats. So I was very happy with myself, and Sean was as well, or Fuggin was. Up to the finals, Sean or Fuggin and I had the highest base average of 1.8, and that was very cool. But then come the end of finals, I look at the stats and I am cut deep to find that Runt decided to clutch up, and he finished with the highest base average. But anyway, Sean and I still finished in 2nd and 3rd with the highest base average of 1.67 and 1.61 respectively. I don't know. I don't want to talk about my team. Runt, you said you wanted to talk about us.
Talk about them.
No.
I didn't say
Okay.
that. I saw you guys one game.
All right. I'll talk about this a little bit. Again, I've got to be careful how much I say. Beefy's in the chat, and he'll drop me if I say too much. But yeah, I don't know. It was it was the first time we'd been. Actually, no, because we were at Prenuts 1. We still haven't played this arena with our full roster. So Prenuts 1, we had Mikey, but we were missing Chutch, and we had Jesse from Adrenaline replacing. And then this comp, we had no Mikey, but we had Chutch back, and we had Exile replacing. So we still haven't had an opportunity to play this arena with our full roster. But yeah, I don't know. Sean Orfuggin and I went out, clearly got some bases. I clearly got denied a bit along the way with a denial average of 1.5. You know, that is what it is. And then, you know, we would go from there. I don't know.
So answer me this, mate. Answer me this. You guys both had amazing base averages. Fuggin had a very low denial rate, and you had a very high one. Is that?
So this is going back to the conversation we were having about. It's always the
just
other
wanted to
guy's fault.
clarify.
So naturally, every time I got denied, Fuggin's comms were a bit off. Fuggin didn't get denied much. My comms were clearly on point. No, I
You were
think
shooting everybody when he was going for base, so clearly he wasn't ever going to get denied.
If I'm honest, I think a lot of Fuggin's bases was actually off the back of me going into a base, getting denied, and then him cleaning up and then getting the base himself.
That's how you play for the piggyback. You just on your own teammates.
Piggyback ourselves. We're playing chess over here. Y'all playing checkers.
You guys are bigger brain than I thought. There we go.
One thing that BV has reminded me of that I would like to point out before we move on, that Brendan already knew I was going to bring up, is that we actually were undefeated against the Hobart Vikings, the reigning Prenuts champions. I'd just like to point that out there. Put that out there.
I mean, they're in finals. Like, we might as well quit. Like,
you know, and we're not going to think. We don't have to think about it any more than what I've just said.
We look at the 100%. That's all that matters.
Did we win the game? Also, doesn't matter. We were above the Vikings. Is what was important.
Wait,
100%
what?
of the time.
Did you not even win that game?
No, Catalyst won.
What? Oh.
Yeah.
So.
Is that the game where you guys played with 4 players, right?
No. That was a different game. This was just us getting railed. But I thought with the amount of trash talk coming from him that he was the one to get first place, but not even.
Oh, no, we came second. But alas, let's not think about it anymore. I want to hear what some of you guys have to say. Maybe Blitzer, we came against you guys a bit more. We only versed the Vikings once, so.
I was like, you guys, not one of your players got a tag ratio over 1, and that's what impressed me the most, actually, is how well you guys were doing with not getting a tag ratio, with no players getting a tag ratio over 1.
So,
and I mean that sincerely. No, but the first time we played you guys, you were clearly a bit rusty on the packs. Yeah, we noticed it, and then I was like, oh, I'm not sure how well Aftershock are going to go. You clearly got better on the packs, but what was most impressive is just how good you were strategically. Like, you guys have clearly gotten to that level now where, obviously, you know, you've had Beefy there for a few years. He's shared a lot of wisdom with you guys. You guys already had your own level of learning within your crew that you've accumulated over your years, and you've kind of put it all together. And now, like, you're just a really hard team to play against, and you make good decisions in the game. So you guys are in the box seat to take the next step and crack into a grand final. You're definitely one of the teams that will be competing for a spot in the GF. There'll be Vikings and 2 others. Hopefully you can be one of them.
That'd be cool.
Most likely.
I guess to speak a little bit to the tag ratios, yeah, they were pretty awful. I think Fuggin was the only one that was consistently getting the over 1. Obviously, on average, it didn't end up that way. My tag ratio only ended up, like, I only started going even remotely positive in the finals. Every other time it was not so good. But I think a lot of what I attribute that to is we won most of our games off of having more bases than everyone else, thanks to the high base average by fucking know, and also everyone else clutching up, obviously. But we didn't really figure out where we wanted to field point from ever. Maybe until like the last couple games we played, we started to get a bit more of a groove for it. But even then, I don't like after reviewing the footage and then going like on the Monday, our flight was like at really late, so we ended up going to the site and doing a bit more training. And yeah, we were kind of like, why didn't we use this ridiculous line of sight ever? So yeah, I think that's a lot of what I'd attribute our not very good tag ratios from. Yeah, I don't know. Has anyone any other bits? Run.
So, looked into the Torn stats. Bit different tag ratios. There were some positive ones, notably homes, for example. Or even. So, this is very nerdy, but the difference between Torn tag ratios and base dump tag ratios is base dump is based on total tags divided by total deaths. What that means is if tag ratios on base dump are improved by being consistent, Torn tag ratios are improved by being inconsistent and having high tag ratios in some games. Now, Aftershock, very inconsistent team. Watching these guys, that's clear, but seeing them at the top when they were, because essentially what this team did that was impressive is they just sent it with the attacks. As soon as they were down, they just go. 3-man attacks, 2-man attacks, just full committed. And I'd like to see that they were never letting the game slip away. And they were quite an aggressive team, which I like seeing a team just force aggression in a defensive meta. So that was really fun to watch, and I thought the strategy they did to force that was really good. But when that doesn't work, it doesn't work. Obviously, like if you commit heavy D and then your attack doesn't get any ground, your defense is getting railed because it's weak, and your attack is getting railed because you're trying to push it into a hard object. So I think that's why we see the tag ratios being quite low on base dump, even if it doesn't quite reflect how decently they were playing throughout the rest, because this was a very up and down team, because they're a more aggressive team. Yeah, I thought you guys leveraged the attack very well. Fuggin, this is the best comp I've seen him have. I think he was playing amazing. You're back on in your stomping ground of being back on attack. That's great to see. Wanted to shout out XR. I got to ref some games of you guys. He's a madman. He is sprinting more than anyone else in the arena. He is the hardest working player there, and he's not even on the team or for nationals. Like hardest working player in the comp, from what I saw. Throwing the gun around, sprinting, yelling at the top of his lungs. He was a joy to watch. Yep.
And he was doing his classic exile, like throwing the gun up, and rather than switching, like actually going between right-handed and left-handed, and he managed to figure that one out. He was very chuffed with that.
So cool. He was a joy to watch. But no, I think it's so cool to just see aggression, and some games that you guys are absolutely destroy. Like you absolutely railed us with aggression. We like to play a low base game, and you're just like, we'll just send a lot of attackers and railers. So that was funny. Forced us into a 3-man attack, which I finally remembered what you were referring to.
Yep.
Yes, your 3-man is better. So no, that it was good to see you guys, and I would love to have you guys reach the finals potential that you guys have been building for a while. It's been a lot of work in progress, and I think it's almost there. So this team was sick to watch, and I think the strategy, when it worked well, was great. I'd say maybe point of improvement is when the playing the offense doesn't grip, maybe switching back to more defensive, or even leveraging it even further, because a lot of the time it's like, let's throw this at the wall, and we're gonna see how long it sticks, and see how long it sticks for maybe a bit too long. So maybe a tad more adaptability, but I like the playstyle. I thought it was cool. And yeah, I'm keen to see where you guys take it.
Thank you. I think one more thing to attribute to the tag ratios was we definitely felt against like teams like Rampage, the Hobart teams, and then the Queensland teams that did like all that training on the Thursday. Early on in the comp, we felt that. So I think that's also a bit of the tag race thing. Is like we were just losing. We weren't winning like one-on-one duels like very often at all. Yeah.
Yeah, the first time we played you guys was very different to the last time we played you guys. Because I think we played you guys in the round robin, maybe. It was us, with Rampage, and I was like, oh gosh, these guys aren't looking as sharp on the packs as I thought. And then it all clicked in after a day or so of playing, and then by the final day, you're like, oh yeah, here we go, here they are. So, and the only reason you guys weren't in the grand final is because of an individual bit of brilliance by Orkarai, where he got a denial. You guys did the late game base dump and were pulling it off. They were getting bases, and Orkarai managed to get a denial at blue. We were green. He got a denial at blue and then raced back and got a denial on Beefy at our base. And all within about a 15-second patch. And then the game ended.
What the hell were you doing there by yourself, BV? What the hell were you doing there, bro?
He wanted that negative. He was committed to it that long in the game. He wanted to finish with it. You gotta respect the man.
Nah, there was it's like you were saying before, but a lot of the time with like the top teams nowadays, it's a case of like, less than a second, milliseconds, millimeters is the difference between making finals and not making finals, or coming first or not coming first. So well done to Orkarai. You just ruined our little climb. That being said, also our last line. Who was our last line? Look at the tag ratios and guess.
I mean, I saw Beefy in there. I don't know if he was it the whole time.
He was. He had a bit of a rough time, I think, especially early on. In the finals bit, he did finally like really find his groove. Blue Bay specifically, I remember he again was playing the sandwich, and he had like an absolute monster game out of Blue Base in last line. So he took a bit. He's getting old. He takes a little bit longer to get warmed up, lubed up. But I think over the course of a nationals, especially with the training and stuff, Beefy will be in top form, last lining. Back to his roots.
Swap it back to the pre-nuts one structure. Beefy for lead attack. Swap you two. Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
But no, like I think I said it before the comp, like especially at red, like I thought Beefy was a good anchor. Like I thought he was very solid there. The time I saw him in blue, his team didn't call for him, so I can't speak too much to that one. But
Yeah, I think big kudos to Exile. Obviously he has been out of the scene since like 2018 with like having issues with his hips. Got a hip replacement. He's back playing on Anomaly this year. We needed someone to fill in for Mikey for pre-nuts. He jumped up and he did, very, very, very well, all things considered. Especially considering the caliber of players he was coming up against. We were all very impressed with Jimmy. Thank you very much, Jimmy. All that said, as well as Jimmy did, I think Mikey plays a really big and important role on our team. And given how we went at this pre-nuts, we are very, very excited for nationals having Mikey back and playing with our full fives. So I don't know if anyone doesn't have anything else to add. We'll sign off with that for Aftershock.
Someday we'll beat you guys.
We'll see. Maybe the pressure of that being over your head will, we'll keep it that way. We'll see what happens. I've got a little bit of extra motivation in our games run to keep that ball rolling.
You want that base stat over me, don't you?
I'm also gonna guess that base stat. I'm saying it right here on camera. Just you wait.
Is that the denial? Is that denial number or the base number?
Both. Both. I embody you miss every shot you don't take. Right? I say it all the time. I've got to, actually follow through with this advice. All right. We'll move on to our third place team, which was the Moon Boys. Predicted fourth, up one. over the course of the tournament. They started in 4th, dropped 3 to 7th in Cascade 1, climbed 1 in Cascade 2, and then, like I said before, they tied with us and WA Cowboys with the biggest climb on the last day of 3 positions, ending up in the finals. Very nicely done. On the team, we have Taipan, Butza, Dark Passion, Orkarai, Master Mopar, and Robo. Butza, tell us your secret.
The secret is lose a lot of games that you shouldn't lose in competition, and learn as many lessons as you can. No, essentially we're a new team. So it was the first time we really all played together, and it took us a little while to find our groove. And we felt like, not all the round robin draws were even as well because of the number of teams and the amount of games we had. We felt like we had a pretty hard draw, and we were happy with that because we had a lot to learn. So getting harder games was more beneficial to us. We felt like we got a lot out of that. Definitely dropped some games that weren't predicted to drop, but that was kind of just a result of we had 6 players. We were moving players around into different positions and trying things out throughout the early stages. And then we got to the final day, and we got a combination that we felt like was working. And we did also feel like the meta had shifted to green. Well, it certainly had for us anyway. We didn't figure it out until that final day, and we figured out that green was our best color. We started to win out of it. We kept the same combo in for that day, and Robo's like the ultimate team player. He put his hand up and said, "You guys have got a groove going on. You guys stay in and keep playing." And so we kind of kept the same combination of players and just the same roles as well. We kind of just had a thing that was working, and we just kept playing it. So that's kind of how we got some good results go our way on the final day. And then in the grand final, we were like, okay, we're happy to be there, obviously. But really, it was about, we really wanted to see the Vikings in full flight in a grand final situation to see what we were essentially, to win this nationals. What are we going to have to beat, essentially? So we got that opportunity to some degree. Not sure they certainly gave us a flogging the first 2 games. The final game, I think we dumped about halfway. So I'm not sure we fully got to see everything they had to offer in that final game. And all in all, I think that's about as high as we could have hoped to have finished in that competition. We're probably in that 3rd to 5th range in terms of where we were as a team. And we just had a few results go our way on that final day. That's pretty much the summarization of it. We had a bit of individual brilliance from Taipan that helped us get that win in the finals day to beat the Spartans in that very first game we played the Spartans, and that really helped because it gave us color choice for the remaining games of the day, essentially. And then we had that bit of brilliance from Orkarai in that final golden game to get those couple of denials and sneak us in, essentially.
Damn.
Obviously, a lot more than that goes into winning a game, but that was a little bit of brilliance
Clutch
that he pulled
moment.
off, which really clutched it. Yeah, exactly. So, and then in the finals, we were a little bit underwhelming, but I'll talk a bit more about it when we talk about the Vikings. But I don't think teams should necessarily look too much into the margin because those margins can close up, pretty rapidly from one tournament to another once you've got a whole bunch more experience and time on the packs. No doubt it's going to be very difficult to beat the Vikings. We're going to have to have everything go our way, but it's not. It's not 100% chance that we won't, if that makes sense. So, that pretty much sums it up for us. In terms of standout players, I felt like we were all pretty even, actually. I don't feel like we had a super standout player, but I felt like Dark Passion, I really started to see some of his best play in terms of his, around the arena, but also his decision-making. He's just such an experienced player, and really started to see his elite decision-making come through. Orkarai was also, he tended to there was a little bit of a graveyard role where you kind of like, you're that door defender who doesn't get to go as aggressive as the other defender. And he kind of got that role a lot. So big hats off to him as well. He just kind of accepts the role that he gets. He's so good at that role that he was clearly the best choice for it. So felt like he did a really good job of that as well. So over to you guys.
So the color choice helped you in Ascensions, and you guys chose green, did you?
Yeah. Well, we did it. We got
Interesting.
gifted. We got gifted it the first time,
Yeah.
and then we realized, oh shit, it's our best. We
Yeah.
actually think that this is the best color now.
And
Just in terms of field points, and then we chose it the second time. Yeah.
and I don't blame you for thinking red was the best up to that point, because I looked at your stats after Cascade 2. You guys were 3 wins and 1 loss in red, and that was far better than your other 2 bases stats. So I'm not surprised you thought it was red. So I'm impressed with the decision making to switch it over to green as your strongest base, when statistically it hadn't been up until that point. So yeah, that was interesting to see. These guys, you guys used the 3-man attacks quite effectively, I would say. When versing you guys, it was pretty much 0 or 1 person attacks and 3-mans. There was no 2-mans. It was full committed to the 3s, which is interesting because we haven't seen that in the nationals before. We really haven't seen that as the meta, I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong with your 20 years or whatever, but 3-mans are not common, and you guys love them. Where this team gets a bit strange is sometimes you guys will be not pulling the trigger on that 3-man, and it seems you guys are very overly defensive and defend into third a fair bit, and then try to panic very late game when there's too large a margin to close. I think might be an issue for you guys, and also there was some wacky strats we saw from you guys. The 4-man attacks. 3-mans might be effective, but I don't know if 4-man attacks will ever be meta, will they? Because it felt like you'd send 4, you wouldn't get quite the traction you needed on that base with the 4, and your 1 person would just get railed and not be. I feel so much more useful if you just full commit to the dump. So that's.
You don't know something doesn't work until you try it.
We saw it a few times though, didn't we?
I don't know. You're very perceptive, mate. You pick up things. I'm like surprised how much you pick up out of people's gameplay for how much other things you had going on, organising the comp and stuff. But yeah, we were trying different stuff. And I have seen 4-man attacks work. I mean, I know the Cobras have used it previously pretty effectively. Kiwi teams, Jesse Duck Passion used it a bit as well when he was playing in New Zealand.
I can see where it came from then. Interesting.
Is that 1 person like defending, or are they going to the other base?
Yeah, literally 1 person just chilling at base trying to stop the attacker from rock up.
That's kind of fun.
It's a burst attack. It's kind of like you go quickly attack, get a base, come home kind of a thing. But it's just lots of numbers. Throw lots of numbers at a base and get them back again.
Yeah. Nah, it was a very wacky world to us, you guys. Our first game, we're like, they've only had like a day of training. They're all new to the packs. Type in and all Cray had a rough time at last comp they played. Like, you know, we're not expecting to lose to you guys, and then you just slap us around in the first game. That was an interesting experience. So props to you guys for picking everything up so well. Especially with so many of you guys being new to the packs. I thought you guys did excellently, especially to get to finals and really push it that whole way through. Yeah.
You guys were certainly less prepared the first time we played you than you were in the grand final.
We got to learn. That was the fun part about this comp, learning things. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But well, like we learned more from that game than any other game in the entire competition. So my team may say we threw it, but screw that. It was good for us. I really liked that game. I like to lose games. It was good.
How about you, Mr. Holmes? Anything to add?
Nah, just yeah. I mean, I only actually remember versing you the 1 time, and that was the Golden Game 3. Yeah, no, I definitely felt like you guys knew exactly what you wanted to do out of green. That was my observation. But then, yeah, I think from where I was standing, it looked like in that last game that you guys and the Spartans kind of like canceled each other out. Like Spartans, like you were like floating, like you had like 3 people kind of floating towards blue, and then blue had 3 people floating towards you, and you kind of like canceled each other out, which I thought was interesting. And then I was able to just stand in the middle of it and, you know, get a few tags, and I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. But yeah, honestly, I mean, I don't remember versing you guys in like a standard game. That game was very whack, especially like when we pulled the trigger at the end and it devolved to a dump. Um, so honestly, I don't really have a lot of things to add. How many times did we verse each other, Butzer? Was it just the once,
No, we
or was it
played
twice?
guys against Rampage as well in the
Yeah.
round robin, and
Yeah,
there
right,
might have
right,
been
one time
another. I
before.
think that might have been the only other time. Yeah.
Yeah, that checks out then. But
Um,
yeah, honestly, don't have much to add. Just I think actually what I remember from that round robin game is yeah, you guys were utilizing your heavy defense and then sudden 3-man attack, boom, get a base. And that game that happened a few times, and the game just kind of like ran away from us. Obviously, there was lots of things like we're still pretty fresh to the packs, and winning duels, and getting tagged in the phaser, and all of that kind of stuff. Not knowing where to field point from, but yeah, we remember that being a thing that really we were like, God damn, they did that really well, and we started trying to use that a little bit, the way you guys were doing it. But yeah, no, that's all I've got to say really.
Something I
yeah.
would add is, I think, first of all, the teams are very even spread. You like to see that. That's what you need for a finals team. You've got that build of everyone capable of keeping their tag ratios high. Yeah. So everyone's keeping the tag ratios high. Very nicely rounded. All the players are very solid. You don't want to be brawling any of them one-on-one, and it's a sad time if you've got multiple. Something I would say is it looks like, I feel like Mopar may have been a stronger anchor than Robo. I feel like Robo could be stronger on a door, because Mopar was very good in these bases. The kind of wacky playstyle of constantly moving around and constantly being unpredictable, and that movement style, I thought suited Mopar a bit better than it might have Robo, and Robo could be used more on a door or something. I don't know. That's just what I saw. But yeah, it's good to see you guys.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I thought these bases just are like Mopar's actually a really good last line. I've said that for years. I think he'd make a great last line because of that. He likes to trick people by moving between spots and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think these bases perfectly suit his style of last lining as well.
Yeah.
With the internal movement and things. So I think it's a great last line, and I think that's probably the biggest area of improvement for us is to get. We had a kind of a combination that was working. And I think we just need to increase the amount of flexibility we have. We need to be able to alternate people between roles more and stuff like that. So just a bit more training when we head back there for Nats, pretty much.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that with Mopar, it doesn't work because he's trying gimmicks or unpredictable things. He's moving based on moving to a position which has a stronger advantage on the door. He knows you're coming in. He's using that experience to go, they're coming in here, I can move to here without being shot, and punish them for thinking that I was here. It's not so much hiding in a corner and trying to shoot him in the back. It's that intelligent style of movement, which I think paid off for him well.
Yeah, and he's assertive enough to push us around on the doors too. So if he's moving inside the base, he'll yell out to us to move to a different spot outside the base, which is, I think, an important aspect of the last line. Yeah.
We don't do that. That's a really interesting point, isn't it? Yeah, good
You
stuff.
said too much. You said too much.
Too much again. My tongue out. I'm gonna get whipped when I get back.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. Thank you.
Well,
Damn it.
do we have any last points of improvement for the Moon Boys before we move on to second place team?
Get better on the packs.
Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah.
I personally don't have anything. I think you were one of the teams, that we were you were undefeated against us. So, yeah, I've got nothing to say.
Take that, Vikings.
Take that, Vikings.
I mean, yeah, we proved it early on. Like, Cerberus better than Vikings when we lost to you guys and then they beat you. It's like, fair
exactly.
play, like...
Yeah. We had 3 games under our belt. We had a victory against the Vikings and a loss against Cerberus. It was pretty cool.
Oh man, after that first game, like, are we gonna be below Cerberus on the line? Like, what's going on here? Oh man.
Anything else, gentlemen, before we move on?
Nah, let's send it.
No, let's do it. Let's move on.
Yeah. All right. 2 teams left. The stream has already been 2 hours, 40 minutes. Let's smash out these last two teams. Second place, Catalyst. Predicted third place, so up one for predictions. On the team, we have Wax, Lilbo, Husky, Wamfox, Grub, Dodge. They were actually sitting in the first place for the entire tournament until the last day. And then obviously they made it to grand finals and then finished in second place. Notable stats. There was a couple. So Husky had the highest tag ratio with 1.75. So that was one of the things that were in question is how's Husky going to do last lining with H2 in the barrel sensors? The answer is very well. But the more important stat that I'd like to highlight is that Wax had the highest denies against with 2.13, averaging a 2-shot denial every game. And that just makes me happy. That's just funny. That's fantastic.
Maybe
Well done,
that
Wax.
game where he got the game where he got 8 is probably throwing the averages out. Surely.
No. No, that's got nothing to do with it. It's very impressive though. So I think the
Very
most
impressive.
I put on was 11 at a nationals. I put 11 shots into a base without getting it. That was cool. Anyway, Run. Talk to us a bit about Catalyst. You saw them in the finals, obviously.
Man.
Yeah.
Why are these guys so good? I mean, like, we know they're good, but god damn it, they're impressive. You look at them, you go, oh, they've never played the Maze, they've never played the PAX, they're all Helios babies, surely they won't rail everyone, and then they come and do exactly that. Not fun. They pick it up so well. They're just so, all of them are so incredibly talented. It's brilliant to watch them play, and brilliant to play against. These guys are so much fun in the arena. 'Cause they just rail you. So these guys also new Wolfpack strategy. Three-man attacks. I haven't seen that from them before. 5 years of a
Mind blown.
3-man defense, 2-man attack, and just win with that with no other strategies required. And they come into Hobart, and first day they're pulling out 3-mans. That was cool to see. Yeah, I don't know. I keep writing home about the new metas and the new styles of play we're seeing this year. And it's really cool to watch, especially seeing a team that isn't known for diverse strategy, because why would they need to be? But they're going for it. They're embracing that different play style, and it's great to see. And I'd say they're doing it the best out of anyone. Their 3-man hits they're quick and their 2-man D is ready and prepared, and they get in and out, and they just it's rough. It was very rough to versus these guys. This was probably the worst we felt in a game was when they just hit us with a 3-man 4 times in a row and just cycled our base to no end. That hurt. So no, these guys are great. Husky Green was built for him. We knew when building it, we're like, he's
How
gonna
did you
be
do that?
us. Yeah, I'm building it. Everyone's asking for wings, and I'm like, yeah, it's a good idea. It makes the base better in every way. But think about how good Husky's gonna be on it. It's not gonna be fun, is it? And it wasn't. It was amazing. So yeah, that sucked. So green was obviously their strongest base. Green is the strongest base if you know how to use it. So what we saw is these guys be very capable of getting high pack points with their high skill players, and then because green is close to both bases, they're able to hit a 3-man super quick from green. So if these guys are in
I think
green,
we versed Catalyst when they were green every time we versed them, and that makes me sad.
oh, that's not a good time, is it?
that feels bad.
it's not a good time.
That's what we'll attribute the losses to, is they had green every time. Yeah.
Yeah. Notably, Wax. I feel like I was saying, surely Wax and Husky are going to be amazing, and it was still in question if they were, and they were. Seeing the training Wax was doing, playing like screen out and stuff, I think that paid off really well. I think he was very devoted to doing well this comp, and we saw it. He was like happy that for the first time he picked it up well, and he played it well. And yeah, I think these bases are suited to Husky very well, except for a red base, because it's probably was he hitting the ceiling? Like, is that why Lilvo was so much better? Like, Lilvo was amazing in that base, but I want to know why Husky wasn't in red. But yeah, I don't know. These guys are great. Lilbo was like maybe the strongest player on the team for that first day, which I think would have been a fun culture shock for them. I wonder how that was going for them because, yeah, Lilbo has been accelerated so well by playing on this team. It's great, and Wham Fox he's jetting around the place in this arena. It's sick to watch these guys play.
Yeah. Butzer, these are the homeboys. What do you got to add? What do you got to say?
I mean, what can I say? They, we just gave Wax a bit of shit for getting denied, but he scored the shit out of us when he came up against us in the arena. Yeah, there was one particular game where we were in red and he just waltzed down from green and shot us all about 15 times each, and then toddled back to red again, green again, with a whole bunch of points under his belt. They've probably got the best chance of taking the Vikings out if any team's got a chance. Lilbo's been playing really, really well, training really hard at home, and for a second-year player to get a tag ratio of 1.3, yes, he was playing a bit of last line, but he was also not playing completely last line because Husky was playing a lot of last line.
Not enough last line to justify a 1.3. That's insane,
No.
especially because he was checked on the right door of green as well, which is the trash door to be on. It's painful, and he was doing very well.
Yeah, and I saw a game where he was last lining in red, where he was doing matrix stuff, like left, right, and center, taking people out, multiple opponents coming in from different doors, and yeah. So these guys have got the pack skills right at this stage. They've got the pack skills to take it right up to the Vikings. Another 8-9 days of competition, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And you look at Wham Fox, he's going at 1.2 sitting outside a base door as well. So. Yeah, and Wax is at 1.09, and he's out in the field just like hitting his head up against brick walls in defenses and stuff like that. So that's not easy to do. So yeah, they've got the packs. Everyone was questioning whether the packs were going to be an issue with them. The answer is no. The packs are not an issue for them at all. I expect these guys to really, really challenge the Vikings actually come finals day.
Yeah. No, I think that was, like Butzer said, that was one of the big questions: is how are these players that have all been so dominant in the Helios Pro era going to translate to H2? And much to everyone's disappointment, they've picked it up very quickly. And like Butzer said, over the course of nationals, they're going to be, again, like one of, if not the scariest teams to come up against. It's hard to not back the 4-time Zoltec champions in a row, right? 5 of you include the Rumble.
We were going up against these guys in finals, and we're straight up outgunned. They are already better than our team pack on pack. Like, this is not a good time. So at Nats against these guys, which were already stronger than us on one competition, versing them again is not going to be a fun time.
The only thing I can see that they need to tidy up is their denials. And that, my guess is that will happen because that's just how to position when you're covering, and there's a couple of small adjustments and they'll tidy those denials up. So yeah, I can't. You look at that sheet there, and you go, "There's not too many blemishes on that stats sheet."
I'd say Grub had a surprisingly rough comp. I'm not sure if the Helios playstyle suits him better, but he's normally just dominant at brawling. But maybe a lot of that is revolving around being able to stick the phaser out a tad more. But yeah, he dropped a few denials, but that's because he was attacking with Wax, and both of them seem to love getting denied. So
it's always the other person's fault, as we were alluding to before.
Maybe they just shouldn't attack together. If I was to say, they're very strong, and I think tightening it up come Nats, and they're gonna start converting those denials into bases, and when they can start sending it with confidence, it's gonna be very strong.
Yeah, and I think of all the roles, the captaining role that Grub takes is the hardest to pick, to convert to a new arena, and there's essentially you're learning so much as a new captain in a new arena.
100%.
Yeah, so no doubt his tag ratio will come up a little bit, and those denials will get tidied up, and yeah, he'll be back back to his normal self. And even, he's already at 0.88. That's not terrible for a GC. That'll go up to close to 1-ish you'd expect. And then all of them maintain their current stats. They're going to be in the box seats.
Do we have any other points of improvement that we have or even want to give the Catalyst boys?
That's a good point. No.
Eat your veggies. The only thing that could stop them is if they get hit by a bus or get really sick.
Yeah, true. All right. Any last bits we want to add about Catalyst before we move on to our first place team?
Oh, let's do it.
Let's do it. First place, surprise, surprise. Hobart Vikings predicted first, came first. I guess surprisingly, we, normally with a home team, you would expect them to perform better at the start than they do at the end. But you guys started in the lowest position at the start and then managed to make your way back to first place where you belong. With, I guess, a bit of that would be to do with the fact, obviously you've got 3 teams in Hobart, but you don't have the really high caliber teams to really push you guys. And it was a bit of like a culture shock, a bit of a reality check of, some people are very, very, very good at this game.
Yeah.
And they all remembered to rock up as well for finals as well. That's another thing.
Yeah, I don't want to throw Twinkles too hard under the bus, but when the top 3 teams are only dropping 1 or 2 games and we drop a third because Twinkles is not there, it was definitely a factor. But we got pumped at the start, and that was great for us. That's what we've been wanting.
In terms of notable stats, Runt had the highest average score of 12,330. Runt, once again, to my dismay and disappointment, had the highest base average of 1.69. Nice. Twinkles had the second highest average score of 10,926. On the team, Runt, Twinkles, CV, Gandhi, and Karen. Butzer, you said you want to talk about the Vikings first, so take us away.
Yeah, I mean, well, what more can you say except for is anybody going to be able to catch these guys is the question mark. I guess just in terms of, yes, you're playing at home, yes, you've got the packs, but I think what I've noticed is just an overall improvement in 2 things. Firstly, the individuals on the team, like Gandhi, Twinkles, and Karen as well. Is that how you pronounce it, Karen?
Yeah.
The individual development in those players is like super noticeable since particularly last time I've played against them. So that's one thing. And then just in like your experience now, you've been to you've come over to Sweenats and you've played you've been playing for a long time now. Your level of experience is, so deep now that you're captaining in your own arena. Your understanding of the game is at a whole new level. And you guys are in the box seat to take it home. How is anybody going to catch you? That's the question mark. I think. You probably know more than I do. Why don't you answer that question for us, right?
We've clearly got the secret, but if I'm honest, I don't want to divulge that. So
come on, pull it out of the box, Holmes. Let's go.
I think a 2-week competition will stress us because everyone's going to catch up, because it's not a fun place to be in where like every team is on an upward trajectory and we just know that theirs is going to be more upward than ours. So it's like, is our starting point high enough that the trajectories aren't going to catch us, or is it going to be enough? Like, because we're going to try and learn our best throughout playing, but other teams are going to learn at faster rates. So it's just not a fun game for me, feeling like it's a game of hoping we're far enough ahead to not be caught.
Well, not to put any pressure on you, mate, but you are in rare form. Like, there's not too many players who have been able to like perform at the level that you're currently performing at. And there's no other players that have somebody out in the field doing it. So that's a weapon for you guys, in addition to the, obviously home side advantage. But the big question will be, like, yes, you guys won the grand final significantly, but I don't feel like I don't think Catalyst are as far away as what the final result might have suggested. And I know there's at least another team that will, not necessarily us, but Spartans, Aftershock. There's a few teams that can also going to improve and might be a good enough third team in the arena that, because obviously the third team in the arena is going to make a big difference for a team being able to knock you guys off. So that is one piece of it. I don't think they're as far away as what the result might have suggested, and also can teams figure out a way of keeping you and Twinkles under control, essentially in the arena. I think teams have got to kind of work together to do that. I think if we're not talking about collusion, but how you position your players in the arena and knowing what areas you guys like to play and stuff like that, and allowing teams to keep you guys under control, not shooting players that are about to shoot you, for example. That'll play into it a little bit as well, and also putting enough pressure on your defense that your defense doesn't have the luxury of pushing right up. Because I know when we played you in the grand final, wow, you guys were pushed hard on us, and get that luxury when you're not getting attacked. So
what you're speaking to of efforts to keep us under control. It's that sort of thing of like, one time Taipan was like, I'm beginning to figure out your runs, and I'm like, I don't like to hear that.
I think one thing I wanted to ask was, obviously you guys have had Leper for the first two pre-nats, and he was missing from this one. Did you guys really feel missing Leper's presence? Obviously, he's a player that's been around for a long time, brings a lot of experience to the team, solid door defender. Did you guys really feel that he was missing, or do you reckon the other boys really pulled through?
I think we definitely feel it. I think going into the competition, it was like we had our excuse ready. We're down Leper. He's a very strong player. Like, it wasn't enough for the team. Don't worry about it. But no, it's. I think these guys are playing at a level where I'm not sure if it'll be greatly different. Like, I think the team will feel like the same team at Nats, because Aaron and Gandhi are getting closer to meeting everyone. But I think Leper adds such a strong element of brawling on a door that when there is that increased pressure, I think having Leper on the door will hopefully counteract that, because he's just so strong at brawling, and his positioning is very good and very experienced to put the attackers in a spot they don't want to be attacking from. So I think it will be a big asset for us to have Leper back, because he adds a lot to the team, and he lets us be more afraid because we know our defense is even stronger than it is. So yeah, I think Leper's a big asset, but it's still going to be the same team.
Was there also a thing where like Gandhi's voice was gone or something?
Oh yeah, Gandhi had a chest infection the whole time. He couldn't speak in a normal talking voice. He could barely whisper. But it was the best we've ever seen him play. We don't know if it was just because he wasn't thinking about calling and he could just focus on shooting stuff, but he went off. So no, it was definitely a fun thing going into finals. It's like, we're not gonna have calls on this door. Do we want to attack with someone without calls? Because that maybe becomes a less important on attack. But yeah, no, he was dying. I had COVID, but so did the other teams. Like, everyone was dying. It's pre-nuts. That's how these things go. So I don't know. Unfortunately, working around sickness is going to be a test at Nats, I think, from now on. It's not something you can go, we're sick, we lost because of that. Most of the time we probably will, because we like to get sick a lot, and it's unfortunately something.
Eat your damn veggies, boys. Eat your damn veggies. Wash your damn hands, you filthy animals.
I know, right? Tell that to Owen. Blame him for all of this. So no, it's going to be learn to play with the sickness as opposed to blaming it, probably, unfortunately. Expect me to see like full mask and gloves and like safety goggles when I'm just like chilling on the side. I don't know.
Just going to be in a hazmat suit. You're going to play in a hazmat suit as
I'm
well.
honestly considering it, like, if I'm, yeah. don't want to get sick again, man.
Answer me this, run. If a team throws a game into chaos, do you think you guys are better placed or not less better placed? That's the best way to put it to win that game.
Well, it depends. It's tough to answer. I think our neutral game is very good, so you probably need to throw it into chaos on some level. But too much chaos and we start to dominate, I think, is what we saw in finals. Game 2 broke out into too much chaos, and we just cleaned up because it was like, go, we're stable. The other teams aren't. Mop up essentially. But then in the third finals game, it's like, where was the full dumps off the bat that we were expecting? We were like, come on, it's the blowout game. Give us a full dump. And then it was kind of like a halfway through the game dump, and we're like, this isn't the level of chaos we were hoping for. So I don't know. it's chaos in which direction. We've been screwed by late game base swaps, late game dumps, but we've also exploited them. So I don't know. It's tough to predict.
Yeah, have we got any points of improvement for the home team that hasn't lost a single pre-nats yet?
Where do we start? I mean,
I personally have nothing I want to divulge. Obviously, I've got stuff from my undefeated record against Vikings at pre-nat 3, but I'm not going to divulge it.
I think for me, it's like you've only got one more thing to prove, and that's like being able to do it on the biggest stage, essentially under the most pressure with teams that are fully 8 days under their belt.
In my mind, it's if we can prove that we can do it in Albury. But yeah, I'm hoping we do well at Nats too. It's so much more fun when it's not a home Nats. I love the maze, I love the packs, but man, it's more satisfying to do well in other arenas.
If you're thinking about Albury when you're in the final at Hobart, then yeah, I hope you are. If we're playing you guys.
Well, yeah. Have we got any last bits to say about the Vikings before we start to wrap up the show?
No, I'm just super stoked you guys get a home Nats, and after all these years, it's just like an absolute pleasure to be playing back at Hobart. 20 years, and yeah, you guys deserve it. Should have had one 11 years ago, but didn't get it. Now you got one, so it's just great to see you guys smashing at home. It's really, really great.
No, I think it's just fun to be here to mix up the meta a bit, mix up who's on top, mix up all the Queensland finals, and I'm hoping we can get into finals and not throw it away, and give everyone a super interesting watch for the finale of Nats.
Yeah, I think everyone's getting sick of watching 3 Queensland teams have a training session in the finals.
Don't know what you're talking about.